Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, How to Deal with Life's Challenges, Wrong Question. What I mean by that is, life is unfolding, with or without our permission, because life is the nature of what we are. Now, as life unfolds, also scenarios will present themselves. And the question, how to deal with life challenges, is a thought that appears trying to control the situation. And that type of thought usually provokes fear. However, right now, resting in the fact that I am doesn't imply that there's no movement, that there's no action. No, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that life presents itself. It presents a scenario. You notice how a thought arises. If I don't believe that thought, I experience the peace that surpasses all understanding. From that space, yes, action will happen as well if it's supposed to happen. But that is what is referred to as spontaneous right action. And we will deal with the situation according to the way it's supposed to be dealt with. But the fear, the underlying fear, is no longer a threat. Is no longer there. It's just simply life unfolding. Now, let's make something clear here. Because if we keep this on a surface, we're missing the mark. This is not about how the individual can lead with its seeming experiences. It's about the recognition that I am, and I am is not an individual. I am simply is. So, as resting in the I am, which right now is what is, without believing the content of the mind, we just notice how life unfolds. You see? And the question about how do I deal with life's challenges or whatever is already out of the question. There's no need for that question. All that there is life unfolding. And scenarios will present themselves, and actions on how to deal with them, if they're necessary, will also present themselves. And sometimes the problem will solve itself, which is not a problem, it's a scenario. But we always seem to be at the right place at the right time, because we're always at the right place at the right time. And life is just simply a journey, or it seems as though it's a journey. It's a movie that is unfolding, but I remain at the witness, see, rather than the one that seems to be dragged by every scenario. This is something that is very difficult or impossible to grasp if we want to keep holding on to our sense of identity. If we want to keep holding on how things should be, our ideas of what we want out of life. But if I remain as I am, just observing the journey unfolding, then it's all a mystery. But the fear, which is thought interpreting the experience, are no longer a distraction. How things will unfold for me, I don't know. Because there's no such thing as a future unfoldment. However, I can see how life is unfolding. And in this unfolding, I can also see how if I identify with the thoughts, I can experience the consequence of that identification. Or if I don't identify with the content of the mind, if I don't believe the thoughts, I experience that peace always. Not sometimes, always. You see? And these videos are pointing to that peace that you are always. Not to the pleasure you're going to get sporadically every once in a while when things go in a particular way. Not with the transitory, but with what is permanent. And what is permanent is this. Right now, this is the permanency of life. Put it to the test. Don't take anything I'm saying as the absolute truth or on faith. You need to do the investigation to see that where this is pointing to, which is what is your experience always, right now. If there's no identification with the thoughts, if you don't believe them, thoughts are always future, past, or some sort of an interpretation, but if you don't believe them right now, if you don't believe those thoughts, what remains? You see, don't answer. I always say this, because if you answer, you went back to the mind. I'm inviting you to what already is, that is constantly being overlooked or overshadowed by thoughts, by believing them. Right now, this is it. And this is it always. There's no moment that this is not it. Do you see? Now, if the mind is expecting some kind of an answer, some kind of a resolution, it's missing the mark. Because the mind has no answers. The mind cannot give you an answer. The mind can only fabricate more questions. And even if he fabricates an answer, it will be a temporary patch, so to speak, that is going to be replaced again by the next movement. But what is permanent, that never changes, is the fact that I am. And right now you are being. You're always being. In spite of whatever you may be doing, you're always being. In spite of whatever may be happening, you're always being. This is the silence that is so much talked about. That has nothing to do with the absence of sound. You have to do with the recognition that I am, even while sound appears, because sound appears or seems to appear in what I am. Feelings, sensations, thoughts, all of that seems to appear in what I am. And we're pointing to what I am. If the I am is overlooked, then this information is impossible to get through, because this information is dismantling everything that has been superimposed upon the I am. And all that is being superimposed on the I am is a thought. A thought believed in, well, the consequence is the absence of peace. Not the absence of the I am, which is the peace anyway, but the seeming absence of peace. And then the mind wants resolution. What do I do? How do I solve this? Thinking that if I solve this problem, then I'll be at peace. See? But the mind can never solve a problem. You see, you can never expect an answer from the mind, which is the one that is creating the problem in the first place. But right now, as you rest in I am, this is all there is. This is it. And see how thoughts appear, see how sensations appear, see how perception appears. But I remain as I am. You see? And in the I am, everything is fine. There's nothing wrong. Only a thought suggests there's something wrong. Without believing in that thought, all that there is what is. You see, rest in the I am right now. Again, this is not an action. I'm not saying rest in the I am as if you're taking the action. I'm pointing. See? So I could also say, just don't believe the content of the mind right now. Just don't believe the thoughts. Let them be there. And what remains is the resting in the I am. So you see, we can go through both ways. I can say rest in the I am, or I can simply say don't identify with the content of the mind, and the consequence is resting in the I am. And in the I am, if there's anything wrong, honestly, in the I am, in this, if there's anything wrong, when there's no thoughts, distractions about the future or a past or even the present conceptualized, of course, right now, right this moment, without identifying with any thoughts, is there's anything wrong. So if there's nothing wrong, then there's no problem. And look how the mind comes up with a, no, but there's this problem. No, I just go back again to this. And in this, just notice life unfolding, which is what is happening right now. Right now, this is the unfoldment, right now. See, right now, there's only this, that's it, you see. And in this right now, the spontaneity of a movement may take place, or a thought that may be a help to whatever the situation may be, but that happens spontaneously, not as a premeditated thing, not something that I thought about, what to do or whatever. That's what I said. If you ask what to do, how to deal with life challenges, that's a wrong question. That takes care of itself. And there's no life challenges, just only life experiences. And each experience will be dealt with accordingly. What is best when the mind is not in the way, when the mind is not trying to translate and is trying to judge the situation. Yeah, there's an assessment, there's a seeming judgment, but doesn't come from a fear-based. It's just basically the spontaneous right action that I've spoken before. And you see how life is unfolding, you see? Very spontaneous. And you just watch the play. And you're no longer distracted by the play. You enjoy the play. Because you're not that separate entity that something can happen to. You're wholeness. You see? You're whole. You're complete. And in the world of appearances, it may seem as though something had happened to the character, but resting in what I am, just also notice how the character is moved to take the appropriate action, if it's necessary, to deal with whatever presents itself. But you're dealing, or that is being dealt with from a different frame of mind, a peaceful frame of mind. The peace that surpasses all understanding. And yes, sometimes the action may have to, may take the form of something that requires intensity. That's fine. But all of that is seen, so to speak, or those actions are taking place from a frame of mind that is more like the witness of the experience rather than being the victim or affected by it. You just simply see how life unfolds. And again, yes, sometimes actions may be taking place that seems to be intense, and that's fine. That sometimes you need to run, sometimes you need to walk, sometimes you need to be still, sometimes you need to say something. But all of that is happening in what I am, and you are that. You see? So now questions are seen, you see, but they're no longer a distraction. How life will unfold, it doesn't matter. It's unfolding right now. How do I deal with life challenges? I don't even have to worry with that. Life itself will take care of itself. So if I need to do something, I'll find myself doing something. If I don't need to do anything, I will not find myself doing anything. But I rest in the I am. You see? And this is where all this is pointing to. That's why it's simple. If you don't identify, if you don't believe the content of the mind, if you don't believe the thoughts, what remains? You don't know what remains, but you cannot negate what remains. And what remains is I am. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served, and as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.